Have you ever felt your doubts dragging you into an unexpected truth in the middle of an ordinary day? My name is Jack Rain, and I'm telling you this story because when I returned from a trip, I realized that what my wife Emily had told me did not match the reality. A clue, a shadow, a lie. How do you think love shapes itself when confronted with lies? It was a regular weekend when I returned from a trip to close a deal, or so I thought. The trust-filled routine that my wife Emily and I had built over the years was shaken by a phone call. That day, everything changed. Are you ready to bring a secret kept in the dark into the light? Before you dive into my story, don't forget to subscribe and like this video to not miss out on the most striking stories about infidelity and mariage. Now I invite you to join me on this emotional journey. Let's start the video. I was returning from my last business trip to Seattle. I had left Emily a detailed plan as usual, and she had told me about her own schedule. You would think that everything was running smoothly, right? But this time, something was not right. We signed the deal early on Thursday morning, and I was directed to a construction site on the East Coast for an emergency. Everything seemed fine, but the small doubt that emerged inside me made me question my trust in Emily. When I moved my flight at Los Angeles up and called Emily, everything started normally. However, when I couldn't reach another secretary in her office, Linda, the strangeness began. Everyone in Emily's office knew that Linda was Emily's right hand. That day, when I tried to confirm if Emily was in the office by reaching out to Linda, my concern increased when another voice answered the phone instead of Linda. Linda was supposed to be working the same hours as Emily. Yet that day, Linda not being there brought the thought that she might be somewhere else, possibly with Emily. This was unexpected as they often worked together and supported each other. This was a harbinger of a greater mystery. When I landed in Seattle, finding our home dark was also strange. Emily was always there waiting for me. When I entered the house, I was overwhelmed by loneliness and silence. While eating my sandwich, I wondered why she hadn't returned home. As I couldn't reach her by phone, my anxiety grew. At 9:20 p.m., when the phone rang, I was startled. Emily's voice calmed me down, but her speech, in a tone I had never heard before, was abruptly cut off. I felt something was very wrong, confirming my suspicions. That night, Emily did not come home. As I sat in the dark, looking out the window, I did not know what to do until the first light of morning. It was a long night filled with anxiety and fear. The next day, I made a decision. My first task was to go to Emily's office. Although everyone there thought she was inside, her car was not there. A voice inside me said that Emily might be somewhere else, and this intuition took me straight to the home of Emily's work colleague, John. With my suspicion and anxiety, I eventually went to John's house, which Emily often mentioned. As I parked the car and approached the house slowly, I saw Emily's car. My heart tightened. I struggled to breathe. At that moment, I felt like my life, built on lies, was collapsing like a sandcastle. After leaving there and returning home, I felt like I was in a void. My head was filled with thousands of questions, but my heart only felt sorrow. When Emily returned home, her face was unreadable. I could only ask, "Why, Emily?" She said, "It was necessary for work, nothing else." But the evasive look in her eyes could not hide the truth behind her words. We talked very little that night, each word heavy and cold. After that day, the distance between Emily and me gradually increased. Our marriage was surrounded by a wall of distrust. Emily quit her job and started therapy. As I tried to heal the wounds in my heart, I learned what loneliness meant. Our lives slowly evolved into learning how to trust each other again. What would you do after such devastation? Does love truly forgive everything?